Hello and welcome wherever in the world you may be. If you're listening with heavy eyes and a heart looking for quiet, know that you are not alone. Perhaps you're in a small town in Wales wrapped in an old quilt as the rain paints patterns on your window pane. Or maybe you're in a quiet suburb of Toronto with the glow of streetlights blinking like distant stars beyond your curtains. Somewhere in the distance a train whistles. Somewhere else the sea laps against a sleeping coast. Wherever you are and whenever you are, take a deep breath. Let this gentle space be your refuge for the night. In the comments, feel free to tell us where you're tuning in from, what time it is, and how you're feeling. You'd be surprised how many others just like you are floating through this little hour together. And if you enjoy this sleepy journey into a forgotten corner of history, please consider leaving a kind comment or subscribing to the channel. It helps this quiet corner grow. It lets others find their way here too, to rest, to drift, to forget. Now breathe in slowly and breathe out. Let the noise of your day melt into the silence of the past. Let your bones grow heavy. Let your mind loosen its grip. Let your dreams lean gently toward the strange and the old. Because tonight we go back to a place where stone walls held back not only armies, but hunger. A place where the wind off the sea carried the scent of gunpowder and dried blood. A city surrounded, a city forgotten. Close your eyes if they aren't already, and let me take you there. To the year 1573. To the edge of the sea in western France, to a walled city called La Rochelle, where faith clashed with power and desperation turned human beings into ghosts. Now let's step inside the walls. You didn't see the gates close. Not exactly. You only heard the sound, thick wooden beams grinding into place, the echo of iron bolts thrown forward like a final word no one wanted to say. You were walking with a basket of onions under one arm, breathing in the smell of fish oil and wet stone when it happened. The sound stopped everyone. The square stilled. Even the seagulls quieted, circling above the walls of La Rochelle like they sensed what was to come. You turned to look, but the gates were already shut. A man beside you cursed under his breath. A woman crossed herself. And you just stood there, staring at the place where the last bit of outside world had vanished. It was done. The king's forces had surrounded the city. The siege had begun. The wind off the harbor changed after that. It no longer smelled like salt and promise, but like rust and ash. There was a heaviness in it, as if even the air had been sealed in. You moved through the streets with slower steps now. Cobblestones you'd walked 100 times before suddenly felt unfamiliar. The baker's shop was shuttered. The butcher's door was bolted. People didn't look each other in the eye anymore. They walked with their heads tilted just slightly, listening for sounds, cannon fire, horses shouting, anything that might signal that the world outside still moved. Inside the cathedral, candles burned all day. Not for prayer, not really. They burned because people were afraid of the dark. You slept that night with your boots on. In the morning, someone said the southern wall had been fired upon. You climbed the narrow steps of the nearest guard tower, fingers brushing cold stone, and looked out. The soldiers were there, thousands of them, tense like white boils stretching to the tree line. You could see their campfires. You could see their smoke. But you couldn't hear their voices. They were too far to reach you with sound, but close enough to reach you with fear. Behind you inside the city, a boy was crying. Not from hunger, not yet, just from the silence. By the second night, ration lines had formed. People queued outside the storehouses with baskets, bags, and pots. There were arguments. A priest tried to speak about faith and divine testing, but someone threw a stone at him. It missed. No one laughed. You shared a small room with 3 others, now 2 women who once sold apples in the marketplace, and an old man who'd lost his daughter last winter. No one asked why he kept her shoes. You watched as the days shortened. You watched as the fires in the distance came closer, their smoke drifting higher each morning, as if the army wanted you to remember they were still there, as if they knew that smoke could say what swords could not. We are patient. We will wait. On the 5th day, someone climbed the bell tower to look farther. When he came down, he said there were trenches being dug, and just beyond them a gallows. For what purpose no one knew. Maybe it was for deserters. Maybe it was for you. At night, the sound of cannonballs grew more regular, not enough to destroy, but enough to remind. One would land somewhere near the docks, another closer to the granary. You learned to sleep through the sound, or at least lie still and pretend. You began to dream of fields, not the ones near La Rochelle, those were gone now, but imagined ones. Golden wheat stretching past the horizon, soft bread with butter melting through it, apples so crisp they echoed in your ears when bitten. You'd wake up to the smell of boiled cabbage and the sound of someone coughing in the hallway. By the seventh day, they said a horse had been eaten. You didn't see it happen. But you passed by what remained bones carefully cleaned stacked beside the tannery like firewood. No one spoke. No one asked whose horse it was. Ownership had become meaningless now. Everything belonged to the hunger, and the hunger belonged to everyone. That evening you lit a candle for your mother, not because she was dead, but because you didn't know if she'd survive the month. Her hands had begun to shake. Her voice was softer now, as if she was speaking from far away. The air inside the city grew tighter. More people began gathering in the cathedral, not for worship but for warmth. Bodies pressed close, eyes searching each other's faces, not for comfort, but for signs who would last, who would not. And still the gates remained closed. The market square, once full of shouting and music, was now just a place people passed through without looking up. A woman collapsed there one morning. No one moved to help her. By nightfall she was gone. Whether taken in mercy or hunger, you never found out. That night the wind howled louder than usual. You curled under a fraying wool blanket and tried to remember the sound of laughter. You couldn't. You wake before dawn, not because of any noise, but because of the stillness. There is something unnatural in it, a silence too deep for sleep. Your breath is the only sound. Even the pigeons on the roof have gone quiet. You lie there a moment, wrapped in that heavy stillness, listening for the world and wondering if it has stopped. When you rise, the floorboards creak louder than they should. Your boots are stiff from the damp. You pull them on with fingers that don't feel like yours anymore. Downstairs, the woman named Eloise is already awake. She's stirring a pot of something thin and gray. It smells like nothing. You sit beside her without speaking. The fire in the hearth is barely more than a memory now, just a faint glow like the last pulse of a dying heart. You warm your hands and pretend the warmth is real. Outside, the city still holds its shape. The buildings lean, the chimneys lean, the people lean, as if everything inside the walls is tilting under a weight it cannot name. You step into the street. The morning fog is thick, soft, almost beautiful if you didn't know better. It curls around doorways and drips from the edges of window panes. It covers the cracks in the stone and the hollows in people's cheeks. It makes La Rochelle look like a dream half remembered. But you know it isn't. You pass a boy dragging a sack. He doesn't look up. His boots are too big. His shoulders are too small. You wonder what he has in the sack, but you don't ask. No one asks anymore. At the square, there's a woman trading onion skins for a lump of flour. Just skins. Just flour. The trade is quiet, desperate, sacred. You watch the hands, not the faces. That's the rule now. Don't look anyone in the eye. It's harder that way. You follow the old road to the western wall. The guards no longer look like soldiers. They look like bones wrapped in cloth. One of them leans against a rusted cannon, eyes half closed, and you realize he might be asleep. Or dead. You don't ask. You climb the parapet. The sky is the color of pewter. Below, the king's camp spreads like a disease. Smoke rises from dozens of fires, and tiny figures move like ants in ritual. They are eating breakfast. You envy them the bread, the meat, the coffee, the fire, even their laughter, which you can almost hear in your imagination. One of them looks up, just for a second, a trick of light, but you freeze. Because what if they see you? What if they don't? When you return to the street, the butcher's door is open for the first time in days. People are gathered outside, not in line, but in a circle. You edge closer. The butcher stands in the doorway, holding a cleaver in one hand and a finger in the other. Not his. No one speaks. He drops the finger on the step like trash. Then he goes back inside. You don't go near that street for a long time after that. That afternoon it rains. The kind of rain that doesn't fall but lingers, soaking through wool and skin and thought. You sit beneath a broken overhang and count the drops that run down your sleeve. It helps pass time. Time is a slow, cruel thing now. It stretches not like thread, but like meat pulled too far until it tears. Someone dies in the room next to yours. You hear it through the wall. Not the moment itself, but the crying after. A low, wet sound that doesn't rise or fall, just continues like a background note in a song no one wants to sing. You press your hand to the stone. It's cold. That evening, someone knocks at the door. It's a girl no older than 10 with eyes too large for her face. She's barefoot, holding out a single potato wrapped in cloth. She says she'll trade it for a place near the fire. You nod. She doesn't eat. She just stares at the flames. Later, after she's asleep, you unwrap the potato and find it's rotted through. But you don't wake her. You leave it beside her hands and pretend you believe in warmth. The priest walks by the house that night. His robes are soaked, his voice is gone. He carries a small book pressed to his chest, like armor. You don't know if he prays anymore. You don't know if he speaks, but every evening he walks the same path, and every evening he nods at your window. It's the only ritual left. That night you dream of noise. Not screams, not battle, but bells. Church bells far away ringing in some sunlit town you no longer remember the name of. You dream of market stalls and spilled wine and someone laughing with their mouth full. You dream of the sky not gray but blue. The kind of blue that makes you forget you ever feared the color red. You wake with tears on your cheek. No one notices, or if they do, they say nothing. Because here inside La Rochelle no one has cried in weeks. Not out loud. The days begin to lose their names. No one says Wednesday or Sunday anymore. You mark time by different things now. The day the flour ran out. The day the roof collapsed on the apothecary's house. The day they found the old woman curled up in the bakery oven, arms wrapped around herself like dough waiting to rise. Today is the day of the bread crust. You find it beneath a cart buried in a patch of ash and straw, hard as bone, blackened on one side. You brush it off slowly, your hands trembling not from hunger but from disbelief. It feels like a miracle, this sliver of what once was life. You don't eat it right away. You carry it in your coat pocket, letting your fingers feel its weight every few minutes like a secret. You want to be sure it's real. Back at the house, the others are asleep or pretending to be. The fire has gone out again. You place the bread crust on the table like an offering. Eloise sees it first. Her mouth opens, then closes. She doesn't speak, but her eyes ask you if it's to be shared. You nod. It takes 20 minutes to soften the crust in boiled water, 20 more to divide it. No one complains about the size of their piece. No one thanks you. No one looks at each other as they chew. The silence tastes heavier than the bread. That afternoon the fog returns. It crawls low across the city like a slow-moving flood. The bells don't ring. The crows don't call. You wander the streets listening to your own footsteps. The fog wraps around your ankles, your knees, your breath. It smells of mildew and copper, and a hint of something sweet that you can't quite place. You see a shape in the mist, small, hunched, moving in a way that is almost animal. You follow it. Down one alley, then another, past shuttered windows and burned-out lanterns, until you find yourself in a courtyard you've never seen before. A broken statue leans over a dry fountain, and beside it the figure sits. A boy, or what remains of one. Thin arms, tangled hair, and in his lap a pigeon plucked but not yet eaten. He doesn't see you, or maybe he does but doesn't care. You step back slowly. The cobblestone shifts beneath your heel. He flinches, then scurries away into the mist, pigeon still clutched tight. You don't follow. Back at the cathedral, someone has scrawled words on the wall in charcoal. Better to eat than be eaten. You wonder if it's a warning or an excuse. Inside, candles flicker in rows along the altar. The wax puddles like tears on the stone floor. A woman sings a lullaby in a language you don't understand. Her voice is cracked but steady. It echoes in the empty chamber like birdsong in a crypt. You sit near the back, letting the song pull at something buried deep in your chest. Something soft, something still alive. When you return to your street, the house across from yours is burning. Not fully. Just a single room. A thin column of smoke rising like a thread through the fog. No one is shouting. No one is running with buckets. A child stands in the doorway watching the flames climb the wall. Her face is expressionless. You don't ask who lived there. You don't ask if anyone still does. The fire dies on its own. That night you boil a soup of weeds and bark. The girl with the large eyes sits near your feet shivering. You give her the warmest bowl. She doesn't smile. No one does anymore. Smiles feel dangerous, they mean you're pretending. The old man who keeps his daughter's shoes tells a story. He hasn't spoken in 3 days. He says there was once a soldier who carried a stone in his pocket. Not for luck, not for weight, but to remember something. A river maybe, a boyhood home. He says the soldier kept that stone even when food ran out, even when flesh was traded for silence. He says the soldier never used it for anything, not to cook with, not to throw. He just held it every night until the war ended. No one asks what the soldier did when it didn't. You fall asleep with that story still turning in your head. And when you dream of stones, thousands of them, falling from the sky like rain, filling your mouth, your lungs, your belly, heavy and cold and endless. When you wake, it's still dark. You don't know what time it is. You don't know what day. Only that the bread crust is gone from your coat, and you don't remember eating it. You begin to forget the sound of your own voice. It's been days since you spoke more than a whisper. There's no need for words anymore. Everything is understood through glances, through the language of silence. A nod means yes. A blink means no. A breath held too long means don't ask asterisk. You wake to find the street wet. Not from rain, there hasn't been any, but from the fog condensing on rooftops and dripping through cracks. It pools in the corners where rats used to run. Even they are gone now. You wonder who ate the last one. A man passes your window carrying a broken chair. Not to sit on, but for firewood. People burn anything now. Picture frames, broom handles, the wooden leg of a dead man no one claimed. Smoke rises from chimneys and tastes like memory. You step outside and walk toward the southern wall. It's where the noise comes from now. The cannon fire. Not constant, but daily. Like clockwork. The kind of clock that doesn't tick but pounds. You reach the wall just as another shot lands. The ground vibrates beneath your boots. Dust falls from the stone. A woman beside you clutches her chest but doesn't cry out. Below in the enemy camp, movement stirs. You see new tents, brighter flags. Someone important has arrived. The king's banner flaps like a wound in the wind. A whisper moves along the wall. The siege is tightening. More troops, more trenches, less time. You watch as a group of soldiers unload crates from a cart. You imagine what's inside. Food probably, warm bread, apples, wine. You can almost taste them. You close your eyes and let the fantasy bloom, a single grape cool and bursting on your tongue. Then it fades, and all you're left with is the wind and the stink of fear. A boy beside you asks if you have anything to trade. You shake your head. He nods, then walks away, dragging his shadow like a chain. Back in the city center, someone has drawn a map in the dirt, a guess at the layout of the enemy camp. Arrows point to where the artillery sits. Small stones mark tents, wells, horses. You stand above it with others, all of you looking down as if the answer to everything lies there. It doesn't, but looking gives you something to do. That afternoon a bell rings. Not from the church, but from the granary. It's a dull clang, hurried and harsh. You follow the sound boots slipping on mossy stone, heart thudding harder than it should. A crowd gathers outside the granary door. Inside, someone shouts. Then someone screams. The door bursts open and a man stumbles out, blood dripping from his arm. He's carrying a sack. 2 guards wrestle him to the ground. The sack splits open and grain spills across the stones like gold. People lunge. It's not a riot, not quite, but it's close. You hold yourself back, fists clenched, as others scramble on their knees, scooping fistfuls of dry grain into their sleeves, their mouths, their pockets. The man is dragged away. You don't know where. A woman sobs beside you. She has nothing in her hands. You give her your scarf. It smells like smoke and old skin, but she presses it to her face like salvation. That night the old man speaks again. He says the soldiers outside are bored, that they drink and laugh and sing songs about the people dying inside the walls. He says he heard them once years ago during another siege. He says men can laugh at anything if they're hungry for long enough, even pain. The girl with the large eyes draws on the floor with a bit of charcoal. Circles, lines, a house maybe, a boat. Then she stops and looks at you. She says one word, asterisk, gone, asterisk. You nod. You dream of grain that night, of fields too large to walk across, of your hands sinking into wheat like water. But when you bring it to your mouth, it turns to dust. When you wake, your mouth is full of ash. You rise and wash your face with the last of the rainwater in the basin. Outside, someone is singing again. Not a hymn, not a lullaby, but something older. A song with no words, just sound, just ache. It echoes across the rooftops and lingers in your spine. You don't recognize it, but your bones do. You carry it with you as you return to the wall. As you stare out at the enemy camp, as you wonder if they hear it too. You start to measure hunger in colors. Gray is the ache that never leaves. Brown is the taste of boiled leather. Black is the moment you stop caring what something used to be, and red is the color you don't talk about. It's red that seeps through the cracks in the butcher's wall. It's red that stains the back steps of the mayor's house. It's red that clings to your thoughts like rust you can't scrub away. That morning the fog lifts early. The air is unusually clear, the sky almost blue. You walk the empty lane that used to smell like roasted chestnuts in winter. Now it smells like ash and old water. You pass a door that's been left open. Inside, a man sits at a table motionless. His hand holds a spoon suspended above a bowl as if caught mid-bite. But the food is gone. Only the spoon remains. You stare for a long time, trying to see the rise and fall of breath, the twitch of a finger. There's nothing. You close the door behind you. At the square, a horse skeleton has been strung with ribbons. No one knows who did it. The bones are clean, bleached, arranged into a seated posture as if the creature is still waiting for its rider. The ribbons flap in the wind, blue and green and gold, scraps of old clothes maybe, or someone's lost banners. People walk by without speaking. You sit beside it for an hour. The wind makes a low whistling sound as it moves through the empty ribcage. It sounds like a lullaby. By midday the priest reappears. His robe is torn, his eyes are hollow, but he carries a bowl in both hands steaming. Real steam, real scent, something rich and earthy. You follow him. He walks to the cathedral. Inside he places the bowl at the foot of the altar. He doesn't speak, he doesn't pray. He simply stands there staring at the offering. Slowly others enter. Some kneel, some weep, some just breathe in the scent like it might save them. You don't go near the bowl. You don't want to know what's inside. That afternoon you return to the house. Eloise is gone. No note, no trace. Just the smell of her old shawl and the faint warmth in the spot where she used to sleep. The girl with the large eyes stares at the door for a long time. Then she lies down without speaking. You check your own boots still there. You check your coat still heavy. You check the old man's bag still full of secrets. Outside the city is shrinking. The buildings feel smaller. The streets narrower. The sky lower. You pass a window and see your reflection, gaunt, colorless, flickering like a candle about to go out. You stop at the well in the center of town. The rope is gone. The bucket too. A man lowers a tin cup on a string made from braided hair. You don't ask whose. You keep walking. By dusk the sounds return. Distant drums. Horns. Orders barked in a language you almost understand. The king's army is making noise again, and it feels like mockery. You wonder if they think you've given up. You wonder if they're waiting for someone inside to break the spell, to open a gate to surrender. But no one moves, not out of courage, just absence. You reach the old schoolhouse. Its roof has collapsed, but the benches remain. You sit at one, tracing your finger over carvings in the wood, names, hearts, the outline of a bird. The air is thick with dust and memory. You remember being a child. You remember your mother's voice calling you in from the street. You remember a pie cooling on a windowsill. You remember things that feel like they happened to someone else. That night you can't sleep. You lie with your back against the wall, eyes open, listening to the house breathe. Every creak sounds like a whisper. Every shadow feels like a question. The girl stirs beside the fire. She sits up. You watch her as she opens her small cloth bundle. Inside a tooth, a bit of string, a dried flower. She takes out the flower and holds it in her hands. Then she eats it, one petal at a time. You say nothing. There is nothing left to say. You close your eyes and pretend you're on a ship. A large one with sails like wings and ropes that sing in the wind. You are leaving La Rochelle. You are sailing toward a place with orchards and fields and beds with thick blankets. But when you wake, the fog has returned, and the flower is gone. You begin to forget what daybreak feels like. The light that comes each morning is no longer golden or warm. It is pale and dry, like dust brushed across a painting. It does not rise, it bleeds. Through cracks in shutters, through holes in roofs, through the thin fabric of a city unraveling. You wake to the sound of something scraping the street outside. You don't move right away. You lie still, listening, not because you're afraid, but because there's a strange comfort in recognizing anything at all. Sound means life. And life, even in this place, still matters. When you finally rise, your joints ache from the cold. Your back aches from the floor. Your mind aches from the memory of dreams too short to remember and too long to escape. Outside, the scraping continues. You follow it. Halfway down the street, you see a woman dragging a wooden door behind her. It's been ripped off its hinges and tied with rope to a cart that once held vegetables. Her hands are wrapped in strips of linen. Her feet are bare. She does not look at you. She is taking the door to the cathedral. You don't ask why. Everyone knows why. The fires need fuel. Even faith burns when winter comes early. At the square, someone has lit a brazier. A small group huddles around it, gaunt, quiet, not touching. Their silhouettes bend like shadows painted by candlelight. You edge closer. The heat is faint but real. For a moment, it feels like something from the world before. Then you notice what's inside the brazier. Bones. Clean and white. Not pig. Not chicken. The heat fades in your chest. You turn away. At the end of the street, children are playing a game. 2 stones for dice. A square scratched in the mud. No laughter. Just rules. You pause to watch them. One girl taps another on the wrist and says, "You're out." The others nod solemnly as if officiating a court. The game continues. You think of how children play when they are not starving. You think of games with sticks and balls of songs sung in circles of running just for the sake of running. Then you realize you haven't seen anyone run in weeks. That evening the mayor calls for a gathering. Word spreads in whispers. At sunset you join the crowd outside the hall. No torches are lit. No bells are rung. The mayor appears in the doorway, thinner than you remember, wrapped in a cloak 2 sizes too big. His eyes are heavy, his mouth a straight line. He says only this: "The gate will not open, ever." Then he steps back and closes the door. No one speaks. Someone spits. Someone else laughs, not a joyful laugh, but the kind that comes when language no longer works. You walk home under a sky scraped clean of stars. The wind carries the scent of something roasted. You follow it. Not because you want to, but because your feet do. The scent leads you to a crumbled bakery. Inside, someone has built a fire from broken shelves. A small pot rests above it. You peer through the doorway and see a man stirring it slowly. He looks up. Your eyes meet. Neither of you blinks. You leave. The house is colder than usual. The girl has taken to sleeping beneath the table now. She builds herself a nest of blankets and old papers. You let her. The old man hasn't spoken all day. He just sits by the window staring out with the same expression he's worn since the day the pigeons vanished. You chew on a leather strap. You don't even bother boiling it. You just chew until your jaw aches, until your teeth hurt, until your tongue goes numb. That night you don't dream. You lie awake staring at the ceiling, tracing cracks in the plaster with your eyes. You count them. 1, 2, 3. You lose count. You start again. 1, 2. And somewhere between 3 and 4 the candle goes out. You don't relight it. Darkness is easier now. You understand why people used to fear it, not because it hides things, but because it shows them. You don't notice when the bells stop ringing. Maybe they stopped days ago. Maybe no one has the strength to climb the tower anymore. Maybe the priest is gone. Or maybe the bells simply understood there is no one left to call. The city breathes in silence now. You move through it like a ghost. Not because you are dead, but because the living no longer make sound. Even footsteps seem quieter than they should be, as though the stones themselves are holding their breath. You head toward the docks. The sea has always been there, just beyond the city walls, lapping softly like an animal that cannot be caged. The salt air used to sting your skin. It used to carry the scent of fish and tar, and the promise of something beyond. Now it carries only the cold. The shoreline is empty. Boats rot in the shallows, their sails long gone, their ropes floating like seaweed. You walk among the wrecks, listening to the groan of wood and water. Somewhere a gull calls a single ragged cry, and it startles you. Not because it's loud, but because it's alive. You sit on the edge of a broken pier and watch the horizon. There are no ships, no lights, no rescue. Just the slow, endless roll of gray-blue waves that do not care about cities or sieges or hunger. You let the cold air fill your lungs. You close your eyes and imagine diving in, letting the sea take you. Letting it pull you down where it's quiet and deep and no one asks for anything. But you don't move. Your fingers curl tighter around the wood. You are not ready to be gone. Not yet. Back in the city, someone has painted a red cross on a door. Not with paint. The door is shut tight. No noise comes from within. You pass by quickly, eyes low, breath shallow. You don't want to know who lived there. You don't want to know who didn't. Later you hear shouting. Real shouting, hoarse, panicked, close. You run without thinking. At the edge of the marketplace, a man is kneeling in the street. He's crying. He's cradling something in his arms, a sack, torn open grain spilling out like gold dust. Around him people stand frozen. No one lunges. No one speaks. The man weeps into the grain as if it were a lost child. You watch from the edge of the square. The wind picks up. A handful of grain scatters across the stones. No one chases it. You don't know why. The old man is gone when you return. His shoes are gone too. You find the girl under the table again. She's clutching something close to her chest, a scrap of cloth, damp and dark. You don't ask. She doesn't offer. Her eyes are open, but she's not looking at you. She's looking somewhere far beyond the walls. You sit beside her and say nothing. There is nothing left that words can fix. That night the fog returns heavier than ever. It wraps the city in cotton and silence, muffling even the smallest sounds. The candlelight glows like stars swallowed by mist. You lie beside the girl, one hand resting lightly on her shoulder, just to know someone is real. You listen, not for footsteps, not for fire, but for breathing. When you wake, there's frost on the window. Winter has come. You rise slowly, limbs aching back stiff. The cold has sunk into your bones like regret. You boil water that tastes like metal. You chew on dried bark. You listen to the silence and realize you no longer hate it. You just miss what it used to mean. Outside, someone is singing again. Low and soft from somewhere near the chapel. A single voice, wavering, human. You follow it through the fog, down twisted lanes, past doors that no longer open. The voice belongs to a woman in a shawl. She sings to no one. She sings for no one. She sings because it is the only thing left that makes her feel whole. You sit across from her and close your eyes. And for the length of her song, you forget the siege. You forget the hunger. You forget the red. You forget everything until the final note fades. And you open your eyes again. And remember, you don't remember the last time you touched something warm. Not the kind of warmth that comes from firewood or boiled water. The kind that lingers in cloth, in skin, in memory. The kind of warmth that says, "You're not alone." This morning the girl does not rise. She lies curled beneath the table, knees pulled to her chest, her breath shallow. Her fingers are cold to the touch. You wrap her in everything you can find. Blankets, coats, even the sackcloth once used to hold kindling. But the cold clings to her like a second skin. You whisper her name, though you don't know if it's the one she was born with. She doesn't answer. You sit beside her for hours, counting the seconds between each breath. At noon you go outside to find help. Not because you believe anyone will help, but because standing still feels like giving up. The streets are emptier than ever. You pass a man sitting motionless against a wall, a spoon hanging from his fingertips. He's staring at nothing. Or maybe he sees something you don't. His eyes blink slow and dry. You don't speak to him. You don't speak to anyone, because there is no one left to speak to. At the apothecary's house the windows are shattered. Inside the shelves are bare. Dust hangs in the air like fog made of memory. You run your fingers along the wooden counters, hoping to feel something familiar. A jar, a bottle, a name. But there is nothing, only a single book half-burned lying open on the floor. You do not read it. You just close it gently, as if closing it might quiet something. Back at the house the girl is awake. Her eyes follow you, heavy and dull but present. You kneel beside her and press your forehead to hers. Her skin is cold, but not as cold as before. You light a candle, then another. You surround her with flame, not because it will change anything, but because it feels like trying. And trying still matters. Later you step outside again. The wind has shifted. It no longer smells like rot and wood smoke. It smells like metal, like fire, like asterisk before asterisk something happens. You climb the wall, not for answers, just for a different view. Below, the king's soldiers are gathering. Their lines stretch far beyond what you can see. They are quiet, purposeful, no shouting, no banners, only movement. You squint into the distance and realize they are not preparing to attack. They are preparing to wait. They know you are breaking. That hunger has done what cannon fire could not. That silence has succeeded where swords failed. You descend slowly, hands scraping against the stone, the cold biting through your gloves. When your boots hit the ground, you do not cry. You do not speak. You just begin walking toward the place no one goes anymore. The tunnels, old, forgotten, half collapsed. You don't plan to escape. You plan to remember, to find what's left. The entrance is behind the tannery, buried beneath crates and canvas. You pull them aside with fingers cracked and numb. The air that rises is damp and foul. You take one breath, then descend. Inside it is black. You run your hand along the wall, guiding yourself by touch. The stone is wet. The ceiling drips. Rats once lived here, but they are long gone. You walk for what feels like hours. Then you see it. A skeleton slumped against the wall, arms wrapped around something. You kneel beside it. It is holding a mirror. Cracked, fogged, but intact. You lift it slowly. In the dim light of your candle, your face stares back at you. You don't recognize it. Not entirely. The eyes are yours, but deeper. The cheekbones sharper. The mouth a line pressed tight by months of silence. You look, and you keep looking, because there is no one else to bear witness. When you return to the surface, it is dusk. You carry the mirror wrapped in cloth. You place it beside the girl. She looks into it, then looks at you. Neither of you says a word. That night you both sleep, and in your sleep you dream of warmth. Not fire, not food, but hands, holding yours. You wake to silence again. But this silence is different. It has weight, like something is pressing against the walls, like the air itself is waiting for something to happen. The girl is still asleep, curled around the mirror like it might protect her. Her breath clouds the glass with every exhale, leaving behind faint traces of life. You don't wake her. You just sit beside her, listening to the way the house groans with cold. Outside, the fog hasn't lifted. It clings to the city like mourning cloth. Buildings loom like tombstones. The streets look carved, not built. You walk slowly, feeling the stones shift beneath your boots. At the square you see them. 2 bodies, laid out carefully side by side, wrapped in what used to be curtains or maybe tablecloths. Someone placed them beneath the statue of the angel with the broken wings. There are no flowers, no candles. Just 2 bowls, one filled with water, the other with ash. You don't recognize them, but you bow your head anyway. Someone cared enough to lay them gently. That's rare now. You hear footsteps behind you. You turn. It's the man from the apothecary's, the one with the hollow eyes. He carries a sack slung over his shoulder and a bone-handled knife in his belt. His clothes are clean, too clean. He doesn't speak. He just walks past you and disappears into the alley behind the bakery. You let him go. You don't want to know what he's carrying. You walk toward the cathedral instead. The door is ajar. Inside, the pews have been pushed aside. Blankets cover the floor. People lie there unmoving, some asleep, some not. The smell is heavy. You move slowly, careful not to step on limbs or breath. At the altar, the bowl is gone. In its place, a scroll. Unfurled, blank. Maybe no one had the strength to write. Maybe no one had the right words. You sit in the back and close your eyes. You try to remember music. Not the lullabies, not the chants. Something louder, something joyful. A fiddle, a drum. The sound of hands clapping in a courtyard after sunset. But it won't come. Even memory has grown thin. When you return home, the girl is awake. She doesn't speak, but she points to the window. Outside, snow is falling. The first flakes drift like ash, soft and slow and quiet. You both watch, mesmerized. It's almost beautiful until you realize what it means. Winter has truly come. You gather everything burnable. A chair leg. The last piece of the mirror's frame. An old drawer from beneath the bed. You build a fire that cracks and hisses in protest. The smoke curls toward the ceiling, filling the room with a scent that is more memory than warmth. The girl opens the mirror again. She looks at herself, then at you. Then she speaks, barely a whisper. Do you think the snow will cover them? You know what she means. You nod. Yes. She lies back down, arms around the mirror, and closes her eyes. That night, you sit by the fire alone. Outside, the snow thickens. You hear it tap against the shutters, a soft percussion like fingers on glass. You let it lull you. Let it carry you somewhere else, a place where snow means holidays and warmth and bread fresh from the oven. You remember a story your mother once told, about a village that disappeared beneath snow, not buried, forgotten, as if it had never been there at all. Only the chimney tops remained poking through the white like fingers reaching for a sky that never answered. You fall asleep with that image in your mind, and in your dream you see La Rochelle from above, blanketed, still, silent, as if it too is preparing to be forgotten. You dream of birds that night, not real ones, not the gray, hungry pigeons that used to scavenge in the square. These birds are made of smoke and feathers, silent wings, cutting through a sky that glows gold. They fly in circles above a city that is crumbling, and as they pass overhead they drop things, not bombs or curses, but memories. A child's shoe, a spoon, a red ribbon, the smell of rosemary bread. You wake with your mouth open, as if you were trying to catch one. But there is only the stale cold. The fire has died. The girl is asleep again, her breath fogging the mirror, her arms tighter around it now, like she knows the dreams might not come back. You tuck a blanket over her and rise slowly, careful not to make a sound. Even your footsteps feel too loud now. Outside, the snow has thickened. It swallows the edges of the street, covers the last markings on the walls, fills the cracks in the stone with silence. You walk down the center of the road and leave no tracks behind. The wind does not howl. It whispers. You pass the house with the red cross on the door. It has collapsed. The roof is gone. The windows shattered. But the door remains, leaning on nothing, still upright, still marked. A ghost of warning, a memory of disease. You don't stop. You head toward the southern gate. Something draws you there. Not a sound, not a sight. A pull. When you arrive, you find it open. Just a crack. Just enough. You stop in your tracks. The guards are gone. No one stands at the towers. No one watches the camp beyond. In the distance, you see smoke. Campfires still burn. But there's no movement, no shouting, just the cold. You step closer, just enough to see the outside world, not with your eyes, but with your body. The air feels different out there, less heavy, less thick with memory. Your breath escapes your mouth and rises like a question. You don't cross the threshold, you just stand there, because leaving means surviving, and surviving means remembering. You turn back, not because you're brave, but because someone is still sleeping in your house. You pass the bakery. The front door is gone. Inside, the man with the bone-handled knife is gone too. What remains is a pile of ashes in the hearth and a spoon carved from antler laid on the counter. You don't touch it. You don't need to. Everything here has already been touched by fire, by hunger, by hands more desperate than yours. When you return home, the girl is awake. She's watching the snow through the window, her reflection trembling in the glass. You sit beside her and hold her hand. It's cold, but it grips yours. That's enough. You share a handful of boiled water, one sip each. Then you light another candle. You write something on the wall with a piece of charcoal. Not a prayer, not a name, just a line. Asterisk, asterisk, we were here, asterisk, asterisk. She watches you, then nods. She takes the charcoal and draws a bird beside it. It looks like the ones from your dream. That night you lie on the floor wrapped in your coat, your fingers still smudged with black dust. The girl hums something under her breath, a tune that has no name, no words, no clear beginning or end. You fall asleep to the sound of it, and in your sleep the birds return. But this time they land. One on your shoulder, one near her hand, and one on the windowsill. They do not speak. They only stay until morning. The snow doesn't stop. It thickens soft and relentless, turning the city into a white maze where the past is slowly buried. You wake to find the door half frozen shut. You lean your weight against it until the frost breaks like glass. The hinges groan in protest, as if the house itself has grown weary of letting anyone in or out. Outside, the silence has deepened. It's not just the quiet of snow, it's the quiet of surrender. The few who remain move like sleepwalkers, heads low, limbs slow, eyes too dry for tears. You nod to them and they nod back. That's all anyone can manage. You head toward the well. There's no water left in it. You knew that already. But some part of you hopes the snow has filled it. That there's something left to gather, something left to melt. When you reach it, you find the rope frayed and the bucket shattered. A crow perches on the edge, its feathers puffed and shining black against the white. It looks at you. It doesn't fly away. It doesn't fly. You sit beside the well for a while, staring into the snow-dusted stone. There is no reflection, no sound, just your own breath. You reach out and press your palm against the ground. It's so cold you expect your skin to stick. But it doesn't. It just rests there, like it belongs. You walk back slowly through alleys that have narrowed with frost. Footprints disappear behind you. The city is erasing itself in real time. You can't tell if it's peaceful or cruel. At the corner where the statue of the angel used to stand, you find someone left a loaf of bread. Real bread, small dents wrapped in waxed cloth and tied with string. You don't touch it. You kneel beside it, look around, listen. No one's watching. No footsteps, no movement. Just a loaf. You pick it up carefully as if it might vanish. You bring it home. The girl is awake. She sits with her arms around her knees, eyes glassy from sleep or memory. You show her the bread. Her lips part, but no sound comes out. You sit together in front of the small fire and unwrap it. It's stale, but it's bread. You break it in half, then half again. You each eat one piece and save the rest. The moment lingers like a shared secret. You don't speak. You don't need to. That night she places the mirror beside her like always. But she doesn't look into it. She turns it toward you. You see yourself there, thinner, older, quieter, but also still here. Still breathing. Still human. You wake in the middle of the night to the sound of footsteps outside. Not the dragging kind of the starving. Firm, deliberate. You rise and move to the window. You see torches, 5 of them, carried by men in coats lined with fur, faces wrapped in cloth. They walk through the snow like it's nothing. One of them stops at the door across the lane and knocks. Once, twice, then waits. No one answers. He leaves a package on the step. They move on. You don't go outside, not yet. You wait. In the morning, the package is still there, untouched. You cross the street and open it. Inside, 3 small jars of honey, a flask of something thick and dark, and a folded piece of parchment that simply says, asterisk, asterisk, you are not forgotten, asterisk, asterisk. Your hands shake as you carry it home. You place the jars by the fire. The girl opens one and dips her finger in. She tastes it, closes her eyes, and smiles. Just once, and it is enough to break your heart. You both eat in silence. Then you light every candle you have left. Because this, whatever it is, feels like a turning. Not an ending, but something else. Something warmer. Something coming. The candles burn all day. Their flickering light reflects off the frost on the windows, turning the walls into a dance of amber and shadow. You sit with the girl beneath your threadbare blankets, watching the flames melt the silence, even if just a little. No one knocks at your door. No one speaks in the streets. But the package was real, and that changes something. You take your time with the honey, 1 spoonful each, a ritual now. You savor the way it clings to your tongue, the way it reminds your body what sweetness was. The girl licks the inside of the spoon and grins with her teeth that still exist, still work, still matter. Afterward, you wrap the jars in cloth and hide them behind the stove. You trust no one. Not because they would steal, but because hunger can make saints into ghosts. That afternoon, the snow lets up. The light returns, thin and gray, but real. For the first time in days, you see the outlines of buildings, rooftops, distant steeples beyond the fog. The city reveals its skeleton. You step outside and walk without a plan. You follow the tracks of the torchbearers, 5 sets of prints leading down alleys you haven't dared enter in weeks. The prints are fresh. The snow hasn't erased them yet. You walk slower, quieter, as if each footstep might echo in another time. You pass a boarded-up bakery. A single flower, frozen, still standing, has grown through the cobblestone outside. You crouch down and touch its petals. They crumble between your fingers. Everything does eventually. At the edge of the market square, you hear something. Not footsteps, not speech. A hammer. Metal on wood, sharp and rhythmic. You duck behind a fallen cart and wait. Across the plaza, a man is building something. A wooden cross. No, not religious. Just a beam tied horizontal to a pole raised in the center of the square. A platform beneath it. Crude but stable. A gallows. You feel your heart slow. Not in fear, in recognition. Not everyone survived the siege with silence. Not everyone was willing to endure what hunger demanded. The man ties the last knot and steps back. 2 others join him, torchbearers maybe. They carry no weapons, just heavy eyes and quiet steps. When they leave, they take the rope with them. Not yet then. You return home as the sky begins to dim again. The girl is awake, seated at the window, the mirror resting in her lap. She watches the snow fingers tracing circles in the fogged glass. You sit beside her. You don't tell her about the gallows. Not tonight. Instead, you pull the flask from the bundle, the thick dark drink, and pour 2 sips into old wooden cups. It smells like plum and wood smoke and something bitter at the edges. You clink your cups softly together. The first taste burns. The second calms. The third brings tears. You don't speak. She doesn't ask. That night you both sleep closer to the fire than usual. Not for warmth, for light. As the flames crackle and settle, you dream again. This time you walk through the square in spring. No snow, no fog, just warmth. The statue of the angel is whole again. Wings spread wide, face tilted toward the sun. Beneath it, children laugh. Someone plays a violin. A woman hands you a pear. You bite into it and juice runs down your chin. You smile. You wipe your hands on a clean cloth. You wake with the taste still in your mouth. For a moment it feels like truth. Then the cold returns. The snow at the window is rising again. But the fire is still burning. And that for now is enough. The firewood runs out. Not all at once, not with drama, just quietly. One morning you go to the corner where you've stacked every usable scrap, broken stools, drawer slats, stripped molding, and there's nothing left. Just ashes. Just memory. You stand there a while, hands resting on your knees, trying to think of what you haven't burned yet. The walls. The shelves. Your shoes. The girl doesn't ask. She already knows. You wrap her in everything soft you still own, which is not much, and you bundle yourselves beneath the window where the last of the sun comes through. You let the light wash over your faces like heat. You pretend. Outside the city creaks. Somewhere a shutter slams. Somewhere glass breaks. Somewhere a scream rises short and sharp, then fades like smoke. You don't move. You don't speak. Later you go out in search of wood. You pass by the houses you've avoided for weeks. The ones with no footprints. The ones with doors left swinging open. Inside it's always the same silence, broken furniture, and the heavy feeling of things that no longer belong to anyone. You take part of a door frame, a child's chair, the leg of a writing desk. You carry it home in your arms like firewood and grief. That night the fire returns. It's smaller now, flickering but alive. You hold your hands to it and feel the sting of warmth creeping into cracked skin. The girl reaches toward the flame with both palms. Do you think it watches us? She asks. You don't know if she means the fire or the city or something else entirely. You nod anyway. She accepts that. That evening the snow stops. The streets lie still beneath a sky bruised with violet and gray. For the first time in days the moon appears thin and sharp as a blade. You stand at the window and watch it climb over the rooftops. And then you hear it. A bell, not from the cathedral. From the wall, 3 slow tolls. A signal, a warning, or maybe just a sound to say asterisk, we are still here. You pull on your coat and boots. You don't tell the girl. She's already asleep, her arms wrapped around the mirror, her breath fogging its cracked surface. You walk quickly toward the square. The gallows stands as it did before, but now beneath it there's something new. A body, wrapped in linen, head bowed, knees bent, as if whoever placed it there did so with reverence, not punishment. Someone stands nearby, cloaked, hooded, still. You stop a few steps away. They turn slightly, just enough for you to glimpse their eyes beneath the hood. You know them, not from a face but from silence, from the rhythm of their walk, from the way they carry nothing but weight. They nod. You nod back. Nothing is said. What's left to say? They leave without a word. You stay. The snow begins again, soft and slow. You brush it from the body. You don't unwrap it. You just sit. A candle burns near the platform, a small one flickering like it's unsure whether to live or die. You place your hands near it, not to warm them but to keep the flame company. The city has become a place of watching, of bearing witness, and tonight that's what you do. You sit beside the gallows. You listen to the wind, and you promise without words not to look away. The next morning your knuckles are stiff from cold. You stayed at the gallows until the candle died. until the snow had buried the footprints, until the dawn was no longer pink or gold or even gray, just there, light without color, morning without warmth. When you rise, your back aches, your knees pop. You're reminded that survival is not graceful. It wears the body down like a river wears stone, slowly, unforgiving. The body is still there beneath the gallows. You don't know who they were, but you remember the way they were wrapped carefully, with hands that must have still believed in something. You return home. The fire has gone out again. The girl is awake but silent, huddled in her pile of blankets like a bird in a too small nest. You crouch beside her and offer a crust of honeyed bread. She takes it without looking at you, chews slowly, swallows without blinking. When she finally speaks, it's a question. Is this what forgetting feels like? You don't answer. You don't know how. That day you burn a chair, then the mirror's wooden back, then the crate that held the last of the candles. You do it slowly, ritualistically, like the city itself might collapse if you do it too fast. The flame is weak, but it's enough. You sit beside it and press your fingers to your face, trying to remember what you used to look like, before the siege, before hunger, before silence. The mirror is too broken to help now. The girl hums the same melody each night, quieter and slower each time. You ask her, where did you learn it? She shrugs. I think I made it up. You nod. It sounds like something the city itself might sing. That afternoon, the second bell rings. From the northern wall this time. 2 low tones, no echo. You head there on instinct. You're not the only one. A few others appear hunched in their coats, wrapped in shawls drawn like moths. You recognize none of their faces, but you recognize their eyes. They are watchers too. Beneath the wall, a cart has been left behind. Inside, small sacks, sealed jars, a folded note pinned to the side. You approach, slow and careful. The note reads, asterisk, asterisk, to the ones who did not become beasts. Asterisk, asterisk. The wind carries the words like a blessing. You don't fight over the supplies. No one does. There is no rush, no screaming, no clawing hands. Each person steps forward, takes a single item and leaves. You choose a jar of salt, because it lasts, because it means flavor, because it means you might still care how things taste. You carry it home like treasure. The girl opens the jar and grins. Not because she loves salt, but because it's something new, something not born of the siege. That night you light the last candle. You don't tell her, you just let it burn. Let it fill the room with gold, with shadow, with hope that isn't spoken aloud. She hums again. You close your eyes and follow the melody like a path. In your mind, the streets are green again. The market is loud again. You are walking beside her, not toward anything, not away from anything, just walking. And no one is watching for fire. No one is counting the wood. No one is weighing the silence. Just footsteps, and music, and bread. When the candle finally gutters out, you don't light another. You lie in the dark and let the flame live on in your chest. The third bell tolls just before dawn. This one comes from the eastern gate, 3 chimes deliberate and slow, followed by a silence so vast it feels holy. You rise even before your eyes open, fully pulled toward the sound, the way a wave is pulled toward the shore. The girl stirs beneath her blanket, but she doesn't ask where you're going. She only reaches for the jar of salt and holds it close like a keepsake from a dream. You step into the frozen street. It is so quiet that you can hear the snow crack beneath your boots. No birds, no breath, no voices, only the wind. You make your way across the city, past houses now buried to the windowsills, doors lost to ice, streets that end in mounds of white. It no longer looks like La Rochelle. It looks like a graveyard for a place that never existed. At the gate they are waiting, 5 figures, all hooded, all still. The same ones who brought the jars, the honey, the bread, the silence. They do not speak, they do not wave. They only gesture toward the gate, toward the world beyond. It's open now, not just cracked, fully open. Beyond it the forest, the snow-covered hills, the faint line of a road cleared by sled or cart, smoke in the far distance, thin and dark and straight. A camp maybe, or a town, or hope. You look back once. Behind you the city sleeps beneath a sky scraped pale. The rooftops are teeth, the chimneys are fingers, the streets are veins without blood. You know what it means to stay. You know what it costs. You return home. The girl is awake. Her eyes meet yours without question. You kneel beside her. We can leave, you whisper. She doesn't nod. She doesn't speak. She just presses the salt jar into your hand. That is her answer. You pack slowly. A blanket, a knife, a shard of mirror wrapped in cloth, the bread, what little is left, the last of the flask. At the door you pause, and for the first time in days you speak out loud. Not to her. To the house. To the walls that held your silence. To the floor that heard your dreams. Thank you, you say. Then you close the door for the last time. You walk through the city like shadows passing through memory. The statue is gone now, swallowed by snow. The bakery has collapsed. The square holds only wind and ash, but still you pass each place slowly as if remembering is the final form of prayer. At the gate the figures are gone, but the path remains. You step through it. The snow here is different, lighter, not yet touched by too many feet. You hear the girl's breath behind you, steady, stronger than before. You walk, and walk, and walk, until the city is no longer visible behind you, until the smoke ahead grows thicker, until your body begins to believe again in fire that does not come from desperation. And then you stop. You build a small fire from twigs and bark. You place the salt beside it, and as the girl sleeps beside you, curled against your side, you hold the mirror to the sky and catch the light of morning. Your reflection shimmers, not hollow, not broken, just human. Still, the road out of La Rochelle is not truly a road anymore. It's a memory of a line of crushed snow and shallow indentations that wind between trees bare as bone. The forest around you is quiet, not dead, not sleeping, just watching. Every branch creaks softly in the breeze, like a breath being held. The air smells clean, sharp, too empty. You walk without speaking. The girl's hand is in yours. Her fingers are cold, but her grip is sure. Each step forward feels unreal, like a dream of walking, not the act itself. You've spent so long within walls, behind barricades, breathing smoke and dust and the stink of human survival. Out here there is sky, there is space, and yet it feels less free than expected. It feels like waiting. Hours pass. You drink melted snow from cupped hands. You share a piece of bread that tastes like stone. You wrap the girl's feet tighter when she stumbles, and you hum her melody back to her in a whisper. She smiles once. Then the trees open, and you see them, a row of wagons, dark canvas pulled over bent frames, smoke rising from small fires. People, not many, but more than you've seen in weeks. They move slowly, bundled in layers, eyes sunk deep but watchful. Some sit, some sleep, some gather around barrels of thin soup and whisper. None of them look surprised to see you. One woman waves you over. She's missing a few fingers, her coat is torn, but her eyes are steady. No questions, she says, just warmth. She hands you a bowl. It's hot, not good, but hot. You don't ask what's in it. You drink. The girl drinks too. And then you're given a place near the fire between a man who speaks to no one and a woman with a baby that never cries. No one asks your name. No one asks where you've been. But they make space. They share coals. They offer a blanket. That night the girl sleeps with her head on your shoulder. You watch the flames. And then you see them, one of the hooded figures, the ones who rang the bells, sitting by a nearby tree. Hood still raised, hands clasped, watching the sky like it might finally answer something. You rise. You walk over. You sit beside them in the snow. For a long time neither of you speaks. Then the figure removes their hood. A woman, middle-aged, hair-matted, face pale but composed. She looks at you like she already knows your story. "We kept the gates closed for too long," she says. "But someone had to. Someone had to believe there was still something worth keeping in." You nod. She continues. "Some opened the gates for hope. Some for escape, some for mercy." "And you ask?" She glances at the fire. "I opened them for remembering." You sit in silence a while longer. Then she stands and walks away, fading into the trees like a part of the forest itself. When you return to your place, the girl is still sleeping. You wrap the blanket tighter around her. Then you look to the others. Their faces are gaunt, tired, but not empty. Somewhere a violin is playing. Faint, slow, real. You close your eyes, and you let it play you back into sleep. Not the sleep of forgetting. The sleep of asterisk after asterisk. Morning comes not with a scream, nor a bell, nor a burst of cannon fire. Just warmth. A strange, soft warmth brushing across your face. Not from firelight, not from breath, but from the sun. Real sun. You open your eyes slowly and blink into the brightness bleeding through the forest branches, gold and thin and silent as forgiveness. The girl is still asleep, but her fingers twitch against yours. Her breath is deep and steady. You stay like that for a while, not out of fear, not because you're hiding, just because you can. When she wakes, she doesn't speak. She only looks up at the sky with wide, startled eyes and whispers blue. You both laugh, not loudly, not boldly, but enough, just enough. Someone nearby stokes the fire with fresh wood. A boy passes by with a tin cup sloshing broth, and the violin from the night before plays again, a simple melody carried by trembling hands and hope not yet forgotten. A man approaches and kneels beside you. He's older, face chiseled by wind and age, beard tangled with snow. "We're heading east," he says. "There's a village in the hills still untouched. They send scouts, medicine, salt." He glances at your satchel where the girl's mirror rests wrapped in cloth. "You carry history," he adds. You should bring it where someone still remembers how to hold it. You nod, not because you're ready, but because staying still no longer feels like survival. By midday, the caravan begins to move, slowly, deliberately, one cart at a time, creaking over frozen ruts, blankets wrapped around heads, children bundled like secrets, everyone walking as if they've forgotten how and remembering again with each step. You join them. The girl walks beside you, small fingers laced through yours. The trees thin. The snow begins to melt only slightly, turning the path to slush and mud. Birds begin to call from the branches, short, puzzled cries, as if surprised by their own voices. You don't speak for hours. You just walk. Until the hill. It rises ahead, crowned with a wooden archway strung with cloth flags, faded frayed, fluttering weakly in the breeze. Beyond it, smoke. Not the smoke of burning. The smoke of cooking, of living. A small crowd gathers to greet you, not clapping, not shouting, just watching with cautious kindness. Someone hands the girl a boiled egg. Someone else gives you a rag to clean your boots. There's a stone wall with names etched into it. You don't recognize any, but you add one anyway. A name whispered to you long ago, perhaps by a friend, perhaps by yourself. You write it slowly with fingers that no longer shake. That night you sleep indoors for the first time in months. A roof over your head. A mattress stuffed with straw, soup thick with lentils. The girl curls beside the fire, cradling the mirror in her arms like a child holding a ghost. She doesn't cry. She doesn't speak. But when the woman of the house sets down a bowl of honey, she dips her spoon in and hums her old melody between bites. You sit beside her not as a watcher now, but as someone who has walked through fire and come out carrying light. And when the moon rises round and full and silver, you press your palm to the window pane and whisper the names of the dead. Not with sorrow, but with care, with the knowledge that they were here, and that you still are. You wake to the sound of water, not dripping from a ruined roof, not snow melting into rot, but running soft, steady, real, a stream. You sit up slowly, unsure if you've dreamed it. The girl is still curled beside the hearth, her arms wrapped around a folded coat, the mirror tucked safely beneath. Her breath is warm against your shoulder. Outside, the sky is shifting, no longer gray, no longer white. It has color now, a softness. Pale gold, the light of a world that is still deciding whether to forgive itself. You rise and step outside, and you hear it again. The stream. You follow the sound past the edge of the village, through brush wet with dew, under branches trembling with new life. The snow here has receded. The air is damp but gentle. Birds flicker overhead, tiny, curious surprise to be alive. And there it is, a shallow creek, clear as glass, threading its way through the earth like a vein newly awakened. You kneel beside it, dip your hands into its current. The cold shocks you, not the cold of death, but of life, of movement, of time resuming after being frozen too long. You drink. It tastes like memory, like something old returning. You close your eyes. And for the first time in what feels like centuries, you do not think of La Rochelle. Not the walls, not the snow, not the hunger, just the sound of water, just the weight of nothing. When you return to the village, the girl is already outside, sitting on the stoop, legs drawn to her chest, staring at the sky. She doesn't ask where you've been. You sit beside her. There's a stream, you say. She nods. Good, she says. The woman who took you in offers warm bread and fish cooked over coals. It's too rich. Your stomach protests, but you eat anyway, slowly, carefully. The girl eats more than you. She licks her fingers afterward, eyes closed, savoring. You think of the first days of the siege, of the quiet that filled your belly instead of food, of the way silence crept into your bones. But it feels distant now, like someone else's life. That afternoon the village holds a gathering. Not a celebration, not a ceremony, just a fire in the square and stories. People speak their names aloud. Some for the first time in months. Some for the first time since losing the right to say them. You hear names from distant cities, from riverside hamlets, from mountain farms, long swallowed by snow. When it's your turn, you stand. You don't say your name. You say the name of the girl's melody. She looks up sharply, surprised you remembered. You say it's the sound of someone walking home. The villagers nod. Someone claps. No one laughs. But they understand. That evening, a man with gray hair and a voice like dry wind tells of the siege of another city long ago. He says cannibalism always comes last, not because it is unthinkable, but because it means there is no future left to think about. The girl doesn't flinch. She just holds your hand tighter. You stay by the fire long after others drift away, watching sparks curl into the dark, watching your own shadow stretch and sway like it too is deciding to live again. Before sleep, the girl sets the mirror on the windowsill. Facing out, facing east. Maybe it will catch the morning light, she says. You nod. Then you sleep. And in your dreams there are no walls, only doors, and every one of them is open. The mirror catches the light, just as she hoped it would. You wake to a soft beam of gold laid gently across the wooden floor, filtered through the crack in the shutters, and reflected by that single battered shard of silver-backed glass. It glows like something sacred, not because of what it shows, but because of what it refuses to forget. The girl stirs beside you, stretches, then rubs her eyes with the back of one hand. She blinks at the beam of light and smiles faintly, lips chapped but soft. I dreamed of horses, she says. You sit up. What kind? The kind that don't run away. You smile. Breakfast is warm grain porridge. Someone adds dried berries to it, and the sweetness surprises you. You eat slowly, savoring each spoonful, not because of hunger, but because of how long it took to return to the possibility of *enough. Afterward, you help gather firewood with others from the camp. Your hands are rough. Your back aches. But it's a good ache, the kind that reminds you you're not fading anymore. The girl carries kindling in her arms, walking ahead of you like a little sentinel, alert but unafraid. In the afternoon, snow begins to fall again. But it's gentle now. Soft flakes that melt on your skin. No wind, no warning, just a quiet reminder of what was and what could have been. You stop and raise your face toward the sky. Let it fall on your lashes. Let it touch your mouth. Let it speak in that old silent language you know so well. That night they bring out an old book. Tattered, hand-bound, its pages yellowed and soft at the edges. A man reads by firelight, his voice slow and quiet. A story about stars that used to fall to earth in times of great sorrow, to light the way for those who forgot how to hope. The girl leans against your side, her head on your shoulder. She listens without moving. You realize she's memorizing the story, not for bedtime, but for keeping. Later, when the fire burns low, someone pulls out a fiddle. Its strings are frayed, and its bow is patched with horsehair tied in knots. But the sound that emerges is warm, imperfect, trembling with life. You dance, not with your feet, with your eyes, with your breath, with the way you hold her hand while the music stretches through the darkness like a bridge. You dream again that night. You are standing on the walls of La Rochelle. But they are not broken. They are vines now, and flowers and moss. The city breathes beneath you, alive with light, with birdsong, with footsteps that do not run. A gate swings open. No army waits outside. Only trees, only sky. Only the echo of your name, not shouted but whispered like a blessing. You wake with tears drying on your face. And you don't hide them. Because tears here are not shame. They are roots. The mirror glows again in the morning. This time it catches not sunlight, but firelight, and when you look into it, you don't see the siege. You don't see the hunger. You see her still sleeping, still breathing, still here, still here. By the 5th day in the village, the snow begins to disappear for good. Not suddenly, but slowly, like an old ghost retreating into the hills it came from. The drifts melt into mud and puddles. The roofs drip steadily. Paths appear again, dark and slick, winding between cabins like veins in thawing skin. The world is breathing differently now. You can feel it in your bones, in the way your shoulders no longer curl inward, in the way your hands move without trembling, in the way the girl hums to herself as she sweeps the floor of the longhouse, a tune now familiar to everyone. She's become a kind of signal. Wherever she walks, people look up. Sometimes they even smile. You spend the morning helping mend a fence that borders the goat pens. The wood is warped from frost, brittle in places, but still strong. The goats are lean with ribs visible beneath shaggy coats, but they nuzzle your hands and chew your sleeves like they remember you from a softer world. A boy offers you a tin of nails and a crooked grin. He doesn't ask where you came from. He doesn't need to. In the afternoon, the girl takes your hand and pulls you up the path to a ridge above the village. She wants to see farther, she says, to look past the roofs and smoke and hills. When you reach the top, both of you are winded, but the view steals the breath you have left. Below you, the forest stretches in every direction, green at the tips, white in the shadows. To the west, a ribbon of river. To the north, distant shapes of other towns. And farther still, barely visible, the glint of sunlight on the sea. She squeezes your hand. You say nothing. You don't need to. On the walk back down, you find a bone in the snow. Not a warning, not a threat. Just a reminder, the past is never far, but it does not own you. That evening they hold a gathering, the first true one. Food passed around, bread still warm, berries boiled with honey, children running between fires, too loud, too fast, too alive. You sit with the others, bowl in hand, legs stretched toward the flames. Someone brings out a map, drawn on parchment, marked in ink and grease and blood. not of roads, of stories, of where each person came from, what they fled, what they lost. They ask you to mark yours. You hesitate. Then you take the charcoal and draw a single line. From the western coast, through snow, through silence, to here. The girl leans over and draws a second line curving beside yours. Then she adds a dot. This is where we remembered our names, she says. That night you find her sitting beside the mirror again. She turns it toward you, and you see it the faint outline of your face lit by fire and sky. There are lines there you don't remember earning, but they belong to you. Each one carved by hunger, by waiting, by choosing not to turn away. You kneel beside her, and you say your name aloud. She repeats it, then says hers. It echoes gently against the walls as if the house is breathing with you. You fall asleep with the mirror between you, and in your dreams no one is hungry. No one is hunted. No one is forgotten. Spring arrives in whispers, not with flowers, not with thunder, just with the sound of water moving more quickly down the hills, of branches creaking under the weight of new buds, of boots squelching through thawed paths instead of crunching over ice. The world is softening again. Even the air smells different, like wet bark turned soil and something that might be called forgiveness. You wake to birdsong, not imagined, not distant, real. The girl hears it too. She rises before the fire's embers have cooled and opens the shutters fully for the first time. Sunlight floods the floor. She laughs, not the breathless sound of relief, but something fuller, deeper, rounder. It startles you. Not because it's strange, but because it's been so long. That morning you plant potatoes. Your knees ache in the dirt. Your hands are raw by the end. But the rhythm is good. Earth split, seed pressed, soil covered. Repeat. Each motion simple. Each motion alive. Others work beside you. No one speaks much, but every gesture feels like a promise. You glance at the girl across the field. She is planting too, with both hands, with care, as if each potato might bloom into a memory worth keeping. That afternoon you help rebuild a roof. The house belonged to an old couple who never returned. No one says the word asterisk, dead asterisk. No one asks where they went. The house is still standing, so it's worth saving. You hammer quietly, listening to the creak of wood under sun-warmed nails. At one point you stop and close your eyes, just to listen, to feel the way the wind moves without menace, to remember what silence used to sound like when it wasn't so heavy. That evening you return to your own cabin. There is a letter on the table, folded. No wax, no signature. Inside 4 lines written in black ink. Asterisk, La Rochelle still stands asterisk. Asterisk. But so do we. Asterisk. You carried her out. Asterisk. She will carry you forward. You show it to the girl. She reads it twice. Then she tucks it into the back of the mirror. No words are spoken, but something in the room feels different now. Less temporary. That night a storm comes. Rain, not snow. Soft at first, then steady. Thunder rolls over the mountains like a distant drumbeat, and wind howls between the trees, not angry, just wild. You sit by the fire with a pot of broth and a scrap of bread, watching the shadows on the walls. The girl hums her tune, slower now, quieter. You wonder if she knows it's changing. You wonder if you are too. In the dark you speak to her softly. You tell her the name of your mother. You tell her how you used to sneak out of school to climb the trees behind the city walls. You tell her about the time you dropped a whole sack of flour into the river and how you lied about it for years. She listens without laughing. Then she says, I think the river forgave you. You smile. Outside the storm rages, but inside you sleep deeply. The first true sleep since before the siege. Not because you are safe, but because you are seen. The next morning the world is wet and glistening. Rainwater clings to every surface, beads on leaves, rivulets on window panes, puddles in the ruts between cabins. The sky hangs low, thick with clouds that refuse to break apart. You step outside and feel the weight of the air, not oppressive but full. Like something is about to begin, or perhaps something is finally ending. You follow the girl to the ridge above the village. She likes it there now, where she can see everything stretch out in all directions. The trees that once looked like skeletons now reach upward with green tips. The fields below, patchy and brown last week, are flecked with shoots. Life is returning. You sit beside her in the damp grass. She doesn't speak right away. Then she says it's strange. You ask what is being alive. You don't answer, because it is. You spend the rest of the day helping build a new well. The old one still works, but the villagers say they want to expand, for the future, for others who might come. The ground is wet and thick with clay. You dig until your shoulders burn, until your mind goes quiet. At lunch they bring stew, with actual meat. You don't ask what kind. It doesn't matter. The smell alone brings a hush over the workers, a reverent silence. Bowls are passed, hands trembling, not with weakness but gratitude. You eat slowly, you chew everything. even the carrots. That evening, a messenger arrives. He wears a leather cloak and rides a tired horse. He doesn't say where he's from, only that he's headed east toward the cities where people still keep records. He offers to carry names, just names, not letters, not stories. Just one name per person, to be written down, to be remembered. You give yours, the girl gives hers. You don't ask what he'll do with them. It's enough to know they'll be somewhere. That someone will say them out loud even once in a place far from where they were nearly lost. Before he leaves, he looks you in the eye and says La Rochelle has survivors. But the city won't last the year. You nod. You already knew. But hearing it spoken aloud makes it real in a way you weren't prepared for. That night, the girl draws the outline of the city from memory. On the back wall of your cabin, with charcoal and the stub of a knife. She draws the southern gate, the cathedral, the dry well, the crooked bakery. She draws the gallows. She draws you. Then she draws herself, tiny beside the wall with a bird in her hand. You watch her do it in silence. When she finishes, she steps back and looks at it. It wasn't beautiful, she says. No, you agree, but it was real. And in a world that forgot how to see the real things, that feels like something worth drawing. Later, as she sleeps, you sit by the fire and write in the margins of the old storybook the villagers used to pass time. You write what you remember, not everything, not names or numbers, but sounds, smells, the feel of your boots on frost-slick stone, the weight of the first piece of bread shared in silence, the way snow fell through broken roofs like grace. You write until your hand cramps, until the ink runs out, until your eyes blur with smoke and memory. And when you finally sleep, you dream not of siege, but of planting seeds and waking to find they've grown. You begin to speak more, not all at once, not in speeches, but in pieces. You greet the baker in the morning with a full sentence. You ask the carpenter about the best way to patch a roof after rain. You tell the girl stories not just of the siege, but of childhood, of places you once visited, of faces you still remember, even if their voices have faded. She listens as if the past were music. Sometimes she hums her tune beneath your words, a low background rhythm that makes your memories feel steadier, like they belong in the world again. One day you help a boy carve letters into a wooden plaque for his mother's grave. He doesn't know how to spell her name. You sit with him for an hour, sounding it out slowly, gently, until the letters form something real, something final. When you finish, he doesn't thank you. He just presses his forehead to the wood and breathes. That evening the villagers gather to plan the spring festival. They say it like a joke, at first unsure whether anyone will agree. But someone starts sketching decorations. Someone else offers grain for bread. One man brings out a length of red fabric saved from a wedding long ago. The girl asks if she can sing at it. Her voice is stronger now, clearer. You say yes, and when you do, others begin to volunteer. A woman will dance. 2 brothers will tell a story. The carpenter's son will play the fiddle. Someone starts carving a maypole from a felled tree. It all feels impossible, but so did survival. The day before the festival, the girl paints the mirror frame with crushed berries and soot using her fingers. It stains her nails, her wrists, the sleeves of her shirt. She doesn't mind. When she's done, she holds it up for you to see. It's not broken anymore, she says, and somehow it's true. That night you dream of the city once more. But this time no walls, no hunger. Just the faces, lined up along the path, watching you walk by. Not accusing, just present. You wake to the sound of music. The festival has begun. They've hung cloth from every tree. Someone's carved wooden birds and hung them from the branches. Children run barefoot across the soft ground, chasing each other between barrels of soaked apples and loaves of steaming bread. The fire in the square is wide and bright. People laugh, real laughter. The girl sings at dusk, not her old melody, something new. It begins like a question, climbs into something like joy, then falls again gently like snow that doesn't stay. The crowd listens without moving. Even the wind stills. And when she finishes, no one claps, because they're all too full of silence to break it. They just bow their heads and let the sound live a little longer. That night you walk to the ridge again, alone. You look back at the village, the flicker of firelight, the laughter rising like smoke, the colors swaying in the breeze. You press your hand to your chest, and for the first time you realize you are no longer carrying the city. It is walking beside you. The morning after the festival, the village feels lighter. Not empty, just open, as if the night had peeled back a layer of sorrow and now everything breathes a little easier. The grass is wet with dew. The banners still hang from the trees, damp and drooping but proud. A wooden bird lies in the dirt, its wing chipped. You pick it up, dust it off, and set it on the windowsill. The girl is already awake, brushing berry stains from her sleeves. Her hair is tied back with a scrap of ribbon someone gave her. She looks older now, not in years, in gaze. Did they hear it, she asks. You know who she means. You nod. They never stopped listening. You walk together to the stream. It's wider now with the thaw. Frogs perch along the banks. Minnows dart in flickers of silver. She steps barefoot into the shallows and laughs at the cold. You wash your face. The water bites, but you let it. You want to feel it. All of it. You return to the cabin and begin unpacking the mirror's hiding place. Not to hide it again, but to give it a place. You build a small shelf for it. Hang cloth around the frame. Decorate the corner with dried flowers. When the light hits it now, it casts a long shimmer on the floor, a ribbon of reflection that the girl calls Asterisk, the ghost road. Asterisk. Others come to visit it, quietly. They don't ask questions, they just kneel. Look, leave, as if the mirror tells them what they need to know. By the next week, people start talking about building. Not just mending, not just shelter, but homes. Real ones. With floors that don't creak. With doors that don't stick. With space for visitors, for stories, for music. You volunteer to help raise the first beam of the new hall. The wood is heavy, but your hands are steady now. The hammer fits your grip. When the post locks into place, the sound it makes echoes like a drum. The girl paints birds on the side of the building, each one flying in a different direction. At night, she asks if you think they'll come back. You say not all of them. She nods. That's okay. You both sit outside under the stars, and for the first time the stars are not a ceiling. They are a map. You sleep through the night without waking. No fire, no screaming, just breath, just warmth, just peace. In your dreams you walk the city once more, but this time you are not inside it. You are outside the gates, and it's not a wall you face, but a mirror, standing tall in the snow. You look into it, and behind your reflection you see everyone. The woman who sang to no one, the boy who ate the pigeon, the old man who never spoke, the priest without a voice. They do not speak, they do not vanish, they just stand with you. And when you wake, the mirror on the wall holds only your face. And it's enough. Spring deepens, the river runs faster, the trees grow louder, shoots become stalks, buds become blossoms. Children climb higher, people talk longer. You find yourself lingering after meals, resting beneath the eaves of newly built homes, listening to the murmur of ordinary life as if it were the rarest sound in the world. It is. The girl has made a habit of singing in the morning now. She stands near the fire pit, eyes closed, voice rising like mist. Each day the melody is different. You ask her once if she writes them down. She shakes her head. They belong to the day, she says. You smile. It's enough. One morning someone arrives from the east with a satchel full of parchment. He's collecting stories for the cities that still keep books. Not histories, not dates, stories. He offers to write yours. You say no, but the girl says yes. She tells him the story of the gates that would not open, the bells that rang without answer, the bread that wasn't bread, the mirror that remembered. She speaks with her hands, with her eyes, with a grace that makes silence lean forward. When she finishes, the man asks, "Do you want me to use your names?" She looks at you. You nod. Yes, she says, but not just ours, all of them. He agrees. He stays 2 nights sleeping beside the mirror. Before he leaves, he adds something to the drawing on your wall, a candle between your 2 figures, a small steady flame. You don't ask what it means. You already know. Weeks pass, then months. The village grows. New voices join the evenings. New hands lift the beams of the future. The stream is bridged. The goats have kids. The road beyond the hills begins to see footprints again, travelers, survivors, seekers. One day the girl tells you she wants to follow it. Not far, just enough. Enough for what you ask. To find the ending, she says, and then keep walking. You pack a satchel, food, a knife, a page from the old storybook, a piece of wood from the door you once burned. The mirror stays behind on the shelf, catching the morning light. You leave the next morning. No one tries to stop you. They only watch as you pass. Their faces do not show fear or pity or worry. They show understanding. You and the girl walk together up the road, past the fence you helped mend, past the tree she painted birds upon, past the line where the old life ends and the new one begins. You look back once. The village is small in the distance. A curl of smoke, a glint of roof, a memory still alive. You walk on. The path curves gently. The grass is thick. The sky opens, and in that moment you realize something. The siege never ended. It transformed. From hunger to healing, from silence to song, from gates that would not open to roads that never close. You reach the top of the hill, and below you a valley gold with grain scattered with houses. The girl takes your hand. "What do you think it's called?" she asks. You say nothing. You keep walking, because whatever name it holds, you are ready to carry it. Together.